Okay, we just finished the episode 2 Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, who's excited? Pretty good, right? Pretty good. Not too bad. Not too shabby. Had a fun time. Good parts. Ghost was there. Arya's with Gendry. Who saw that coming? That's actually a big surprise that happened. I'm glad that. Oh, wait. Yeah. Tyrion something now. I don't know what he's doing. He's wandering around. Winterfell's, I guess, 4 shots. Wide, big, 4 shots big. They'll just either line up on that banister thing, or they're gonna line up next to that wall that everybody lines up in, or they're gonna be in the Great Hall. That's not so great, actually. Now that you think about it, right? There was like 50 people in there, and that shit was pretty fucking crowded. I don't know. Mediocre hall. The whole episode felt so skippable. I didn't even need to watch this. I should have waited until next week and then watched this episode in it, like with that episode afterwards. And I would advise anybody who hasn't seen this episode to just wait, because everything that happened in it felt like it just wasn't even that necessary. Like, what Brienne getting knighted, that's so nice, right? I guess. I don't know. That's how I feel, but I don't know. It's something. I'm glad it happened. Cool. She deserved that. Sure. But in this season, dude, we have a very limited amount of time. You're giving yourself, like, every time something happens, like, I check the time. I was like, okay, well, should this be happening right now? Because this episode isn't that long, and I don't know if this should wait till next. Never. The season with Bran and Tyrion, or the scene with Bran and Tyrion, right? Good-ish. I don't know. Where he's like, well, tell me, we're trapped in a castle, and then I don't know how long Bran told him what Bran told him. He couldn't have told him everything, because then Tyrion went to the other room with the drinking. What did Bran say? Why don't we know what Bran said? Why couldn't they just, like, extend that out to at least Tyrion being like, oh, that's crazy. Neat. Bran has, like, all these powers, and all season nobody's utilizing the powers at all. I don't understand. Nobody's asking Bran any questions. Nobody's like, what's going on in this town down south? No, what happened on this date? Did Jamie really eat my last fucking lemon cake? So get on this, Bran. I don't understand what Bran. Do you need help? No. He's in a wheelchair. Does his arms look like he rolls himself around? Somebody needs to help him eventually. He's probably just gonna sit there until tomorrow. Poor fucking guy. Like, the whole Jamie meeting Bran in the Godswood, neat. Why didn't that just happen next episode in the beginning? Like, so much stuff could have happened just in the beginning of next episode, and then a lot of stuff just wasn't focused on. It felt like randomly. Everybody's talking about it. There's at least 12 mentions of a battle that's coming. I know a battle's coming. I know. Say some other shit. Or who's writing this episode? Buddy, come on. We know there's a fight coming. We know that. What's the title for next episode? Like, it's been out there. It's information that's known. I think when they were going over the battle plans, they just kind of glossed over that. I don't know why that scene was shorter than Arya and Gendry banging. How old's Arya in the show now? Is she 18 in the show? I guess. I guess they've shown that before. I don't understand ages anymore, because, like, Maisie Williams, please. Love you. But how old's Arya? I don't know. What, am I uncomfortable? Am I supposed to be uncomfortable watching this? I don't know. The whole my fucking eyelashes the whole Jon and Daenerys thing. You knew it was coming. You knew You knew it was gonna happen, but then they put it to the last 4 minutes of the episode, to where it's just the tightest squeeze in there. Like, I don't know who was like, hey, dude, pretty important thing right now. Should we give it time in the scene? Like, should the team, like, 7 minutes, right? 7-8 minutes on this one? Dude, no, fuck that. 2 minutes. And then we're going to end it with Tyrion looking out at a dark forest with you obviously knowing what's coming. Like, who? Like, somebody's got to work on this. I don't know. There's a lot of the stuff, it's not necessary. It's just not. I like the scene somewhat with Sansa and Dany, because then they discuss, well, what's going to happen after. Like, that's kind of important. Plot, you know? Plot's important. It's good to have every once in a while. Game of Thrones has been lacking it a little bit. Everybody's just, like, going off what's already... They're going off what's already been established, like, so heavily. Like, the writing in the scene where Arya was talking to Gendry about, well, what's it like to fight them? And he's like, bad, real bad. What? Who wrote? She's like, dude, that's all you got? And he's like, well, yeah. It's shitty. Yeah, and then it ended. Dude, like, it's all this stuff. That's just, I wanted to see some more things, like, with characters where you're like, oh, okay, well, that's something that should have happened. Like, the Starks are back together, and it doesn't feel like they're doing anything yet, you know? They haven't done a single fucking thing. They don't even feel like a family, really, at all. It's like, the whole show, you're like, man, I want the Starks to get back together. Now that they're back together, you're like, who cares? After the Battle of Bastards, nothing's happened with them, like, significant. It feels like, you know, like, family-wise, they just kind of bicker. And you're like, really, you're going to... I don't think this family would bicker. They've been through so much shit trying to get back together that you think when they finally get back together, they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, where the fuck, dude? Like, what are you doing? No, dude. Jon is emo all episode. Nobody says a single thing. Why does nobody say anything to Jon? Jon's emo. Does nobody... What's going on? Like, Varys, where have you been? Why didn't you say anything? Varys doesn't have little birds going around being like, hey, Jon's been emo as fuck. Like, nobody... You saw him in the thing. It tried to make a camera pan to where it panned over to people being like, oh shit, Dany and Jon, they're fighting or something. But then nothing came of it. Just nothing. Nothing happened. But, like, how come he gets to just be... We know why he's like that, but nobody else is everybody an NPC? Like, I don't understand. Nobody does anything anymore. Like, until the plot's like, hey, we need you to... Can you get in there? You want to get in there? We need to get in there. Like, the Hound with the guy who the Lightning Lord, can't remember his freaking name. Beric Dondarrion and the Hound and Arya. Why didn't they say anything of freaking substance, dude? They just said nothing for 2.5 minutes, bro. That's valuable time where they could have actually said, okay, well, this is how we're going to fight the Night King in that other scene. You know, because that other scene was like, well, we're going to trap him in the Guards Wars. We're going to put Bran in there. What, are they going to wheel Bran up to the tree and just have him sitting next to the tree staring at it, and then the Night King's going to be baited in? What do you mean you're going to bait him in? You're going to be close, but not too close. What? What's going on here, dude? What the fracking fracker? Who's coming up with these? These aren't plans. You're just like, I get it if they were just like a desperation battle plan thing, but they should have made it feel more like that in their writing. Like, oh, I don't know. Maybe just like do something to where it feels important what they're putting together, because it didn't feel like anything. They're like, I mean, yeah, that works. Shit, does that work? That work? Yeah, it works. Fuck, it works. We're gonna wheel Bran out into the middle, put him under a nice branch. We're gonna give him a stick to defend himself. Theon's gonna be in the back with the bow, like episode 3 of season 1 or whatever it is, when Bran's out in the woods on the horse for the first time, and freaking Theon comes in, saves him, you know what I'm saying? And then Rob's like, why'd you shoot an arrow near my brother? That whole nonsense. Except the Night King's not going to be able to say, why'd you shoot an arrow? You know, he's going to be dead. So, solved. War is solved. Like, what? I don't know. It felt like they didn't really discuss anything fully out the way this anything was discussed. Sam's just chilling. I guess he's mad at Daenerys or something. I don't know. It just felt like he shot some shade at her at one point, but nothing really happened again. It was kind of awkward when Jorah was like, oh, I'll fight in honor of your father or whatever, and you're like, oh shit, are you dead now? Because the guy was a dick, right? So what's going on? But I mean, it was super sweet. You know Sam's not going to use the sword. It'd be worthless. So it's cool seeing him giving it out, you know? I like that. I like that he gave it to Jorah. I knew, you kind of knew it was going to happen. It was in the trailer for the season, though. So they're just doing all this stuff that you're like, okay, well you could have just thrown that in next episode. Had a 10-minute segment where it's the night before the battle, next episode, or just at the very end of this episode, and just had a lot more. It felt like they mistimed it to where the beginning 2 episodes of this season were too short of a time, but also too long of a time, because they don't know how time works anymore. So I don't know how long it's going to take Bronn to get to Winterfell in the north, right? But usually, you remember how it took 3-4 episodes for them to get, I don't know. You know, saying you remember in this series at this point is kind of silly, because it's a whole different series, because things are just all over and wacky now. Like, no dragons in this episode. And you know why? You know what, maybe I figured out why this episode is so short and shitty, because they're just saving all the CGI Harry Potter broomsticks for next episode. I didn't do anything on last episode. Just wasn't necessary. This episode, probably not necessary. Wasn't that good of an episode. I didn't like it that much. I'd give it maybe 5 stars. I wanted to utilize the skip ability that is granted to me by watching it not live, because I have to close on Sundays. You know? I was bored as fuck. Every time it went to the Tormund, or not Tormund, I love Tormund. It went to the scene with Tormund in it, though, where they're all around the fire. I just wanted to skip. I didn't care. I didn't care. You know, that felt like it was just, what the fuck, man? What's going on right now? And they're talking about knighting, and I was like, okay, Jaime's gonna knight Brienne. And then a minute later, he's like, oh, all you need is a knight to knight another knight. And it's, dude, yeah, man, I guess, but, I mean, if you all fucking die next episode, what's the point? Make up your mind, you know? They want us to be like, oh, care about what's gonna happen. But then they're like, oh, we're all gonna die, by the way, so don't actually care. What? Make up your mind, guys. And then there's randomly all these jokes that usually aren't in Game of Thrones, but they're funny, so I'll let them pass. Like a chuckle. I had a good couple chuckles. I can't remember which parts they were specifically, but I had some good chuckles in here. The part with Tyrion pouring the wine, loved that part. And he looks at Pod and he's like, Pod's like, ooh, shit's funny. That was funny. That was a good joke. I liked a couple things about, like, how when Jon told Dany, she immediately questioned oh, well, this means you have a claim to the throne. And she, like, went straight to that. Like, she's so obsessed with that. I liked how she's obsessed with that. But they didn't, like, play off of that at all. Like, they could have done that in the beginning of the episode and then had, like, a dynamic going the whole thing or something to where things felt like they were happening between people. Like, the Missandre and Grey Worm. Dude, I don't fucking care. It's cool you're together, but the amount of time spent on that nonsense is absolutely ridiculous. It just doesn't. You don't need that. I don't care. It's like this episode's catching up with friends in Winterfell. That's what it felt like. It's just catching up. Is anything happening? Soon. That's the whole thing. I'm like, make it happen. Make something happen now. You can make something happen now. Like, all these people are building all these things. I don't know. All these NPCs just walking around. Just folks that are going to die with nothing said, nothing done, nothing lost next episode. Like, there's just going to be all these mindless warriors just slaughtered. Nothing. Who cares? Like, we don't feel anything about anybody but the main 11 characters at this point. And before, it was like you had 4 people here you gave a shit about, 5 people here you gave a shit about. Hey, you remember Cersei? Is that, like, in the deleted scenes? What's going on with her, dude? Is she hanging out? What the fuck? What's going on with the rest of the South, bro? I guess nobody's doing anything down there. Haha. Like, they set it up to where there's only 2 spots where you care about characters, which makes sense because the story developed into, like, the whole prophecy thing with Azor Ahai and Jon Snow. But you don't really care about most of the, even with all the people here. John's emo all episode, I don't really care. Like, I thought Bran was gonna be a lot cooler. I thought he's going to actually use his power. I don't know what he's going to do next episode. They're just going to wheel him out, and he's going to sit in the middle of the forest. It's going to be annoying to just have somebody go out and sit and do nothing. And then Theon, sit in the corner and just bow and arrow him. And they didn't even talk about it, Like, what's Tormund going to do? Is he going to just run around? Where's Jon going to be? Is he going to fight? He's the king now. Like, nothing's happening. It feels like nothing's happened. They didn't go over anything about the battle, really. They just went over obvious shit. And then the only thing they went over that's specific is that, like, Bran always is, like, his location's always known. He's on UAV all times. That's pretty important. You already kind of knew that, though, because that already happened before. It already happened before. So it's like, what the hell, Other thing, they didn't even go over Winterfell having a bunch of secret tunnels, so I guess it doesn't. I guess that's not going to be useful. Or it is, when it needs to be, You never know with this show. I don't know. I'm kind of ranting at this point. But, just some couple thoughts. I liked it, It just, a lot of it felt like it could have just been next week. Or never, and this episode didn't really feel like necessary. So, just how I feel. We'll be back.